I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to the second week of distance learning. Shout out to Ruby in my third period for making this for me. It looks awesome. I love the math makes your life add up. That's so cool. And Bath is ballin' because, basketball's awesome. Anyway, what we're going to be learning about today is the surface area of a cylinder, okay? When I think of cylinder, the first thing that comes to mind is a can. All right, so if you want to find a can at your house, then go for it. And you can think of a cylinder that way. So the surface area would be like painting the top, the bottom, and all around the label. And that is surface area. So however much paint you need to cover this whole object, that is the surface area. All right, so with surface area, we are finding, you're kind of given a formula. And this formula is going to help you determine what the surface area is. All right, and we've kind of got two parts. The top and the bottom section of this cylinder is one part. And then the label is the second part. Okay, so 2 pi r times h. Okay, so that is this label portion. That's one part. And then the 2 pi r squared, that's the two surfaces of the top and bottom. Now, two things to keep in mind. Pi is 3.14. In all the exercises, it's going to be 3.14. So when you type it into the calculator, that's what you're going to use. And then remember, our radius is 1/2 the diameter. So if you look over here at our circle, we have a diameter is halfway across this, the radius is halfway across the circle, and then a diameter is the entire way across the circle, okay? So if you're given the diameter, we're only working in radius for these problems. So let's get started. Our first problem, we have a cylinder with a with a radius of 10 and a height of 6. So I wrote the formula that we are going to use right above here so we can kind of just work with it. So they already give us 2 and pi, and I'm going to put parentheses around the things we need to fill in. So we need to fill in what our radius is, and we need to fill in what the height is. We don't need to fill in the 2 times the pi because we already know pi is 3.14. All right, so we need to plug in the radius, and then it's always squared. Okay, so we look and we're going to plug in our radius. Our radius again is 10, and our height is 6. So we plug that in. Then we look at our part 2 of the formula, and we want to plug in our radius again. It is 10. Oop, I didn't plug in 6. Okay, so when we're plugging it in, you can either go to your handy-dandy calculator or you can do it by hand. So if I go to my calculator, I'm going to go to the part 1, and I'm going to type in 2 times 3.14 times 10 times 6. And that is going to give me 376.8. And I can plug that or put that right here for my formula. 376.8 for my answer, excuse me. And then we're going to look at our part 2. Now this gets a little tricky because you have your squared here. Remember, with PEMDAS, you always square your square first. So parentheses, exponent, this is an exponent. So 10 squared is just 10 times 10, okay? So we know 10 times 10 equals 100. So we have 100, and then we have 2 times pi times 100. All right, so then I'm going to plug into my calculator again. We have 2 times pi, and remember pi is 3.14, so times 3.14 times 100. And that is going to equal 620 All right, and then we add those two together, and I get out my calculator again. I already have 628 plus 376.8. All right, and that gives us our drum roll, please. That's my weak drum roll. Is equal to 1004.8. And remember, we need to label it, so we would look back at our cylinder can, and it is centimeters squared. Okay? So that's how you do a problem when it gives you the radius. Now, what's going to happen if it gives you diameter? Okay, we'll move this out of the way. This gives you the diameter, but we don't have a D anywhere in this anywhere in this formula. So we need to find the diameter, or we need to find the radius using the diameter. And remember, our radius is 1/2 the diameter. Our diameter is all the way across. Diameter is all the way across. Remember, diameter is a longer word. That's why I always think longer across. So 1/2 of 12 is going to give our radius. So what is 1/2 of 12? That is 6. Correct. So it's 6 centimeters. All right, so now we're going to just plug it into our formula. So we have 2 pi, things that are already given. Let's write our parentheses, plus 2 pi, which is already given, parentheses squared. Okay, now what do we plug into our parentheses? Okay, so our radius, remember we found our radius was 6. We don't use 12. If you want to cross that out, we don't use 12 anymore. We're only using 6. And then our height, if we plug it in, is 7. Then we're going to move to our second part, our radius. Remember, we're not using the diameter anymore. We're using the radius of 6. Okay, now we go back to our handy dandy calculator. If you want to do it by hand, by all means, go for it. 2 times pi. Remember, pi is 3.14. So 2 times 3.14 times 6 times 7. And that is going to be 263.76. Then we look at our second part. Remember, we square first. I'm going to put a little note here. Square it first. Okay, so 6 squared, or 6 times 6, is 36. And then you have 2 pi times 36. Okay, so 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times 36. And that equals 226.08. All right? So then you take those answers, 263.76 plus 226.08, and that equals a whopping surface area of our cylinder at 489.84, and our label is centimeters squared. All right, I'm going to add some links to more videos down below. If you need some more help, I'm always on Google Meet, or on Google Classroom, and email, TikTok, Instagram, all the things you can find me on. And if you spend more than 30 minutes on this, please reach out to me or move on. If you are still confused, please let me know. Have a great day. Bye.